Nomvalo
thank
or
you.
Skosana?
Thank you,
Is
Chair.
it you or
Yeah,
Skosana?
no, it's me, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, NTPP. You know, I've got a privilege because you account to a committee which I'm part of, the Justice Portfolio Committee. And my observation with you, which I've shared openly, is that you are very quick to become dismissive. And that leaves me with an impression that you are the NTPP who does not understand his statutory responsibilities. And I'm going to a particular question with this statement. I'm not just making a statement here. When I arrived here, we had the first meeting with you. I asked you about the Cindy Somagaka case, which was widely reported in the media space. You said you don't know what is happening on that case before it reached the stage that it is in today. You came to our committee when you came to report about the Omotoso case. You admitted that you never made any supervision to the case up until the ugly consequences that South Africans experienced. The Gupta extradition. There are many cases that I can explain which you failed to supervise in terms of the statutory responsibility that is given to you. Now, I'm not crucifying you here unfairly so. I'm saying this based on experience. And I even requested that you resign before January because I think you are just in this position for the sake of being in it. You don't understand it. I made a plea and I even said to you, even if I meet you in town, in the toilet, everywhere, I will request you to resign because in my understanding, you are not fit for this position. Now, Section 34 of the NPA says, the NTPP may direct a DPP to submit a report to him regarding a specific activity relating to his or her powers, duties, and functions. That is the first section that gives you huge powers to run the institution holistically. Section 22 says, the NTPP may direct a DPP to submit a report in respect of any case, matter, prosecution. Now, when it says prosecution, it gives you a responsibility to summon a report, even if the prosecution is still underway, to say, NTPP, come to my office or give me a report about this matter and advise or overturn, as you said that you can overturn the decision of the NTPP. But in many instances, you refer a responsibility to the DPP and says, no, it falls in his competency and you have no statutory responsibility. Now, do you agree with me if I say to you, you have a particular understanding of your statutory responsibility other than the responsibilities that you are given by the NPA Act?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Chair. If that can be clarified so that I can properly answer
Let me ask it like this. You said here, when you were asked about the KZN issue, I think so, you said it falls in the competency of the DPP, and you never involved yourself on that issue because it was done by the DPP. I've explained different events here wherein you used the same excuse to say, no, this does not fall in my competency. I can't instruct the DPP to prosecute or not to prosecute. And you have repeated those words here today. Now I'm saying the statute gives you those powers, but you are not using them. You can advise the DPP to prosecute or not to prosecute, in my understanding, based on the provisions which I've just read for you.
Thank you. I understand that question better now. Firstly, I cannot advise a DPP Honorable Chair, to prosecute or not to prosecute a case, because I do not get involved in assessing the evidence in a case. And the fact is, Honorable Chair, the Act makes it very clear what the responsibilities are, what a DPP's responsibilities are to decide and make decisions to prosecute, as well as the Act creates two offices, actually. It creates an office of the National Director, and it creates an office of a DPP, which consists of a whole, the Act sets out what that office consists of. And it's very clear what a DPP should do and the powers of a National Director. So in terms of decisions to prosecute, the National Director cannot tell a DPP who to prosecute or who not to prosecute. But you are correct in that there are certain other powers. The National Director is in charge of the National Prosecuting Authority. And as such, the National Director's got to ensure that the institution is well run. And that would mean calling for reports on certain issues. That would mean a whole range of things. And so certainly I also want to deal with the examples of cases that the Honourable Member mentioned, because I think it's important that I don't leave that unresponded to. So with regard to the Omotozo matter, again, I emphasize the day-to-day management of cases rests with a DPP. And of course, yes, when things went horribly wrong in that matter, then I had to step in to find out what was going on. But we were not aware that there were risks before that. And so that's the one case. And again, I implore that it is not regarded with the greatest of respect as an example of how NPA deals with gender-based violence issues. And Chair, I've dealt with that extensively, so I won't go back to that. The issue of the Gupta extradition was also raised. And it's important that I deal with this because, with all due respect, I speak to this honorable committee, but also to the people of this country. The Gupta extradition matter, I won't go into details, but we are still trying to understand why we lost that extradition case. There will be another request for extradition that will be submitted fairly soon. I don't want to give timelines, but one of the risks are that we actually fail again because we didn't know what the reason was for the failure in the first instance. But that's not going to stop us. We will submit a further extradition request. So I think you are correct in terms of the powers of the National Director to make sure that the institution is run properly. And I want to assure the Honourable Member that the NPA is a well-run institution today. We have ethical leadership. The performance of the NPA, besides these couple of cases, very important cases, setbacks, none of those cases have reached the end of the legal process. We are certainly hoping that there will be a successful appeal in Omotozo. In the New Lane matter, for which the NPA was crucified, the Supreme Court of Appeal has overturned that decision, and we will have to start that case all over again, which already puts us at risk. So I just want to emphasize that the performance of the NPA has gone up from 50% to 75%, and in Q1 this year is sitting at 81%. That is not indicative of a failing organization. I agree there have been setbacks, and we've learned from that. And we need to make sure that those things do not happen again. But the NPA is certainly, with asset forfeiture, for example, which is an important aspect, we have recovered almost 50% of everything that was recovered in 25 years of the AFU has been recovered in the past 4 years because of a very determined asset forfeiture strategy, because of innovative policies. And money from CARA, that I think it's 6.6 billion, that's like 6 times what it cost us to fund Zondo Commission. We're already seeing results of that because it's mainly because of evidence led there that we're able to recover this amount of money, which also funded government's response to dealing with illegal mining. So you make important points, but it's important to understand the context.
NDPP, as a legal person, do you agree with a principle that says justice denies is justice delayed?
Justice delayed is justice denied.
I mean, justice delayed is justice denied. I'm sorry.
I do agree with that.
if you agree with it, is it justifiable for the NPA to charge people when they do not have, or to prosecute people when they do not have enough evidence to prove their case? Is it justifiable? For instance, in a case of the former mayor of eThekwini, Zandile Gumede, that she was charged, I think, 8 years ago, if my memory serves me well. Up until today, the NPA is zigzagging. There is no clear direction from the prosecution side. Do you think that is justifiable?
So there's a number of questions in that question. Firstly, at a principle level, it's not justifiable. We, as a matter of policy, we will only prosecute when we have evidence that meets the standard of reasonable prospects of a successful prosecution. And we have impressed upon prosecutors that in the case of economic offenses, we should be almost trial ready, because there's no need to rush with a case and enroll it and then be seeking adjournments for further investigations. So at that level, I certainly agree with it in principle, but I'm not going to comment on the Zandile Gumede matter, because that matter is in court currently.
No, I'm not saying let's talk about the merits. I'm saying a crisis surrounding that case generally, that it has been postponed for, I think, for almost 8 years without any successful prosecution.
If I get the detail, I don't know if I have it here, about why this case has not proceeded as quickly as it should for 8 years. In most matters, we find that it is because of various reasons not attributable to the prosecution. I'm not saying that there aren't instances when prosecutors are responsible, but for the majority of cases, it is a deliberate delaying strategy on the part of the defense to ensure that cases do not proceed. There are other instances where magistrates recuse themselves, magistrates pass away, it needs to, so there's a whole range of reasons why. I don't have all the reasons in the Gumede matter, but I'm almost sure that, excuse me, if I get the reasons, this is what will be borne out.
I doubt that you will give me a proper answer to a question that I'm going to ask now, because of my experience with you, that you don't involve yourself with many cases up until there's a crisis. So there's no proper monitoring and evaluation, no proper supervision from the office of the NTPP. The DPPs are just on their own. You only come in when there's a crisis. Now, I want to ask about the Khumalo case. Khumalo was arrested by IDEC for an HR matter. Have you ever done a supervision of that case?
If you'll just give me half a second, I have a tickle in my throat. I'm trying to get rid of it. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's had a question.
Sorry, it's my post-nasal drip. Triggers
Chair,
sometimes.
she has been coughing for a minute, Chair.
No, but Nomvalo, you're unfair. The question is hard. Yeah, she's had a question.
So
My
consider my
apologies.
time, Chair.
I must apologize for this. So I explained earlier that with regard to these matters, the National Director does not get involved in, excuse me, in the detail of a case.
So you have never supervised, even after it was broadcast,
No, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to.
or you're not done?
I'm not yet done.
Oh,
My
okay,
apologies.
Yeah.
To protect the witness.
You are breathing heavily.
I need a
on the
minute and
neck
I'm sure I'll
of
be
the-
fine.
Of the witness.
It
you
normally
please
works with the
back off?
lozenge. So
Okay, no,
Advocate.
okay, we can take a break, Chair.
I think I'm fine, Chair. I can
Relax,
continue now.
relax.
Thank you. In that matter, as I explained, well, in all matters, particularly, well, let's deal with IDAC matters, because it relates to an IDAC matter. I get very, very high-level reports, and verbally, because of leakage of information, the ID gives me very high-level reports, verbally, generally. In this particular case, she informed me about the impending arrest of the head of crime intelligence. I said to her, Andrea, are you sure this is a watertight case? Because arresting the head of crime intelligence is not something one takes lightly. There must be a watertight case, and she explained to me that it was part of a much bigger case strategy. This was one case that's part of a much bigger case strategy, and that the case was solid. But again, I urge, if anyone feels aggrieved by that decision, to bring a review process. And I assure the people of this country that I will look at any case, whether it's Phala Phala or this matter, objectively, and decide whether the correct decision was taken.
So they informed you before they effected the arrest.
That is correct.
So you relied on a verbal briefing. You never said, bring me a referral if there's any, so that I can satisfy myself that we have a strong case here.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'm saying, you asked her if the case is watertight, and she said yes. I'm saying, to you, that was enough. You never went further to say, bring me a referral, bring me documents, so that I can also satisfy myself that we have a strong case here.
We have processes in the prosecuting authority to ensure that cases are, it's not just one person that takes a decision, not just the ID. There's a team of people that actually work together to decide on these cases. So when the head of the investigating directorate gives me her assurance that the case is strong, I must take her word for it.
So you took her words. You never required.
That is correct.
Or you only relied on her words.
And a very high level briefing of what the case was about.
So according to your knowledge, was the arrest procedurally fair? Were all the requirements met for the arrest to be executed?
Can I ask what requirements the honourable member is
There's a
referring to?
referral and so on and so forth. You don't just go and arrest a person. There was a referral which was brought by a member of parliament in terms of the report that was tendered here. I'm saying, did you satisfy yourself that all the required documentation and the requirements were met before the arrest was effected?
That is not the function of a national director, and I certainly did not go into that level of detail.
It means we have different acts, NTPP. Really, I don't know the act that you have, but in terms of the act that is before me now, you do have that statutory obligation. When it says a report can go further by saying, give me the documents which are relevant to this prosecution or arrest, so that you do not become a victim of misrepresentation. You can do that. There is nothing that stops you. That is why I said, to me, you appear as the NDPP who does not understand her statutory obligations.
Chair, as I mentioned, the IDAC head gave me a high-level briefing on this case, a high-level case strategy, and why this case was strong enough and important enough for them to proceed. I agree with you. The National Director requires that kind of assurance from the DPPs to ensure that we don't have errant DPPs or IDs that are doing their own thing. It's important to have that level of assurance. And in this case, I got the level at a very high level briefing, that level of assurance from the ID in this matter.
Yeah, because we are going to rely on a half-cooked information, and you are the one who accounts in Parliament. We ask questions from you. Now, if you are responsible, you can't just rely on a verbal update or report. Documents must be submitted to you so that you are going to be in a position to make justifications if that need arises, and to give a report and to be confident and say the NPA here did everything that it could do. Now you are just relying on a verbal report. There's absolutely no papers before you. You are saying this was said to me and it ends there.
Honorable Nomvalo, I think you're right. In future, we have to find a way of managing leakage of information and getting written reports, because you make a valid point. But dealing with leakages in the institution is a serious problem. And that is something else that, we need to find a way of strengthening our information security across government. But that is a serious concern, and I'll certainly take your point on board.